Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. For the second time, Inspector General of Police fails to honor summons by the Senate. Senate President describes action as threat to democracy. Police rearrest Senator Dino Melaye after his arraignment in Abuja to arraign him again in Lokoja for alleged unlawful possession of prohibited firearms. Nigerian media asked to brace for objectivity, balance and fairness ahead of the 2019 general elections as INEC's chairman vows to make conduct of polls the best ever in the country. And at least 11 people killed in Libya as gunmen attacked the Electoral Commission's offices in the capital city of Tripoli. ChannelsTV.com has more information for you. And on YouTube.com/channelsweb, you can watch our videos. You can also watch us on the go on your mobile device via your browser or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows devices from their respective stores. Besides giving you access to news and updates on the go, the Channels TV and Channels 24 app have an eyewitness feature that you can use to share those pictures, videos or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the menu and follow the instructions. The Independent National Electoral Commission, or INEC, is optimistic that the 2019 elections will be the best to be conducted in the country. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, who was the keynote speaker at the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria's General Assembly today in Lagos, also raised hopes of eligible voters who have registered on when they will get their PVCs.
Mr. Chairman, we are determined to make the 2019 general elections the best election in Nigeria ever.
If that is a promise from INEC, then Nigerians should be prepared for a great time in 2019. Well, it has been a case of a different strokes for different folks. The continuous voter registration process has been an intriguing tale for many Nigerians. The electoral umpire has been on the matter for several months now, and so far, over 4 million new registrants have been added to the over 67 million voters enlisted for the 2015 general elections. If you are one of those who just registered and may be wondering if you will ever get your permanent voter card before the 2019 election, here is a good news for you.
Beginning from the end of this week, all the 4 million cards for those registered in 2017 will be delivered to each state of the Federation.
The 2019 election will no doubt be one of Nigeria's most anticipated and may in fact come out as a historic poll, but the electoral umpire has his fears, especially with the issues of fake news phenomenon and also the social media effect on information dissemination.
Elections have become an important source of revenue for the media, with wealthy candidates and political parties spending large amounts of money on political advertising. And sometimes this results in skewed coverage in favor of those who can afford the high cost of advertising, and often also in violation of the provisions of the Electoral Act, because there is a cap placed on campaign spending by individuals and political parties. In some cases, sections of the media do not always strictly adhere to professional and ethical standards for a variety of reasons. This is not only a violation of several sections of the Electoral Act 99, 100, 101 and 102, but that kind of unprofessional attitude actually imperils our democracy.
It is still over 280 days before the election day. Considering some of the recent elections conducted by INEC, voter apathy appears to be another fear for the umpire.
We had cause to conduct 2 by-elections here in Lagos. One to fill the vacancy in Ifako-Ijaye federal constituency. With over 380,000 registered voters, the turnout was 2.9% to elect a member of the House of Representatives in the most cosmopolitan city not only in our country, in our sub-region, but I dare say also in Africa, certainly the most populous, 2.9%.
Nigerians are hopeful. The whole world is watching, and INEC is at the middle of it all. How this all plays out is not only INEC's duty, but a responsibility for everyone. Sean Kimbaloye, Channels Television News.
Well, let's get some more perspective on INEC's preparedness for the 2019 general elections. And I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by the chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms, Mr. Ezenwa Wagu. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on the news at 10 at this time. INEC appears very upbeat about the elections coming up in 2019. And you've been following the preparations of INEC indeed. But how confident are you in that regard?
Well, I get the sense that Professor Mahmood has earned relatively some bragging rights, but I think we need to moderate our expectations. The reason is that there is a lot of mix in an election in an election situation. There are other stakeholders who play roles that INEC does not necessarily control. Cast your mind back to 2015 when the National Security Advisor suggested that the election be postponed. INEC never contemplated that. We saw that in Endo. Everyone was ready for Endo elections, and then the security threw in that spanner. So we need to continue to get a situation in which the different stakeholders are on the same page. This level of enthusiasm, this level of expectation that we're seeing from INEC, I hope we can get it from the politicians. I hope we can get it from the security agencies. So if all the stakeholders are agreed on this, then we're fine.
These are his words, exactly, the INEC chairman saying that the 2019 elections will be the best in the country. Given what you see now on ground, how would you say that this exercise will turn out to be the best? If you judge that from what we saw in Anambra State and what we're expecting, especially in Osun State and Ekiti.
Yeah, politicians are hitting a brick wall within INEC in terms of undermining the election. So they've turned to the voters. And one of the biggest threats for 2019 will be vote buying. And we should never contemplate a situation in which the biggest pockets are the ones we elect eventually. So we need to high the conversation around vote buying and what it means for our democracy. And I'm surprised that the INEC chairman is not putting that in the mix right now. I expect conversations to be focused around, because if you saw Edo State, it was a bazaar. We went to Ondo, the scale was up to bit. And then we went to Anambra. In the full glare of security agents, money were exchanging hands. So what that means is that people will just put their money together and say, look, 3,000, 2,000. And then we need some kind of conscientization of citizens to say, look, for every 2,000 naira you take from politicians, for every 3,000, for every 5,000, what that means is that you're not likely to have cottage industries, you're not likely going to have dispensaries, you're not likely going to have functional schools, you're not going to have functional health services. We need to put that to our people. And so I'm mooting a conversation in which we play up the issue of vote buying, what it means. We will also see escalated violence because once there is a possibility of alternation of power, the tendency for violence to be used to stall the process is very high.
If I may just come inside here very quickly, INEC has also projected about 80 million registered voters for the elections in 2019. But we know a lot of the PVCs have not been collected to this time. And he has also alluded to the fact that low voter turnout is a problem for INEC. He did cite a local government area here in Lagos that by-elections were held and only about 2%, just over 2% came out to vote. Why do we have that kind of situation at this time of electoral awareness?
Well, the word you used is the correct term, collection. Because you have to collect physically, you have to be there by yourself to collect, we are having those challenges. If it were distribution, if we were distributing, because we've not been able to interrogate the collusion that takes place during voter registration exercise. Communities are told a lie that the amenities that come to their place has something to do with their voting strength.
Who's telling them the lies?
politicians, of course. So they collude. There is that collusion to pad up the voter registers. And so many times, even people who are not around are eventually, their names find their way into these registers. The example for that is what happened in Kogi. You had signatures, you know. If we didn't do that verification, we would have had fake names coming into the register. So we need to interrogate the voter register and make sure that we clean it up in such a way so that these figures that we post most of the time will be real to the extent that, because in 2015, before you forget, we had 67,000 people, prospective voters, and we had less than 29 million people voting. So it really, what that tells me is that our voter register needs to be interrogated and cleaned up in such a way that it will become something that we can rely on, something that can be authentic, something that everyone can agree with.
That's a good place to let it rest. I want to thank you so much indeed. The Chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms, Mr. Ezenwa Nwagu. Thank you so much indeed for talking to us here. A middle-aged man whose identity is yet to be identified has committed suicide after jumping from the 5th floor of the University College Hospital, Ibadan. Witnesses say that the man landed on his head and was certified dead by doctors who attempted to save him. The head of the public relations unit of the UCH, Mr. Deji Bobade, who confirmed the incident to Channels Television, stated that the 5th floor houses the museum of the teaching hospital and there are no wards on that floor, so patients or their relatives have no business on that particular floor.
So it was a surprise to us when we got to know that the man jumped down from the 5th floor, leaving only his leather slippers, nothing more. No single information. We've invited the men of the Oyo State Police Command. Maybe when they go through his body, they might be able to see any means of identification. But none was left on the 5th floor where he jumped from. Our security people are internal security, so they are members of JOESUS. So they too are on strike.
3 communities in Numan local government area of Adamawa State, Bolki, Bang and Gon, have been reportedly invaded by suspected militia. The chairman of Numan local government area, Arnold Jibla, who confirmed the attack to our correspondent, could not give figures of casualties. Also, some of the residents told our correspondent that the entire village has been razed. According to them, the attackers stormed the village in large numbers in the early hours of today and unleashed mayhem on the unsuspecting villagers. When contacted, the State Police Command said that it was yet to be briefed on the matter. Bang village is a border community between Adamawa and Taraba states. A similar attack was carried out in the same local government in January, with no fewer than 20 gunmen killing innocent people in an attack. The Nigerian army has announced plans to establish a directorate to regulate social media use amongst its men and officers. The Chief of Policy and Plans, Major General Rashid Yusuf, says that the initiative will guard against the disclosure of certified information capable of jeopardizing the peace and stability of the country. Major General Yusuf explained that the training of its personnel on documentation, management and security is a tool in achieving peace.
The social media has brought out additional challenges to information security, which are being used by misguided personnel contrary to our service rules. The Nigerian Army has an extant policy on the use of social media which prohibits, among others, the use of social media to discuss or disclose service matters. It is indeed very unfortunate and unprofessional for service personnel to resort to social media to disclose classified information or express grievances when the NA has well-established channels for addressing complaints. I want you to therefore take particular note of the presentations that we highlight inherent risks associated with the use of social media and the step you must take not to compromise information as officers. I have already initiated a process that could lead to the establishment of a directorate in the Nigerian Army that will focus solely on the management of social media in the service.
When the news at 10 returns, African Development Bank set to conclude additional $100 million investment into Nigeria's petrochemical sector this month. That's on Business News. Join us again.